Hey mathematicians, let's talk about a super useful lesson. These are some real life skills here. They're called benchmark percents, and they are an easy strategy to find kind of weird percentages of a number. Like if I asked you for 19% of a number, we can use these strategies to help us find it pretty easily. Okay, so one thing to remember is that percents are proportional. That means that you can scale up or down to find equivalent ratios to help you solve your problem. Now, benchmark percents are like those really frequent numbers that you hear a lot about, like 50% and 25%. The other two, probably the most important two, are 10% and 1%. Now, these are the four percentages that we're going to be able to find really quickly. So here are the rules for how to find them. If I'm looking for 50% of a number, I have 100% of that number is 64. I'm looking for 50% of 64. Okay, 50%, if you picture this as like your phone battery, 50% would be like right in the middle where half your battery's left. 50%, what do you have to do to 100 to make it equal 50? Well, half is like dividing by 2. So to find 50%, we, divide by 2. Write that down. To find 25%, you can go from 100 straight to 25. Again, picture your phone battery or your laptop battery. Here's where 25% is. You might need to find a charger soon. If we're going straight from 100 to 25, we divide 100 by 4. Another option, which is actually what I do, because I don't really love dividing by 4, I go to 50% because I think cutting numbers in half is easier, and then I cut it in half again to get to 25%. Those two are benchmark percents. They might help you quickly guesstimate, like, oh, if this is 50% of a number and the question was really asking me for 45%, then I should find an answer that's a little smaller than this. My favorite two are 10% and 1%. 10% is when you start panicking and you're like, oh my gosh, I really do need a phone charger. It's gonna die soon. Thinking about 100, what do I have to do to get from 100 to 10? Divide by 10. You can also move 1 power of 10 to the left. So move to the left. So if 64 is 100%, find my decimal point that's hiding at the end of 64, slide it one space over, 10% of 64, oops, I lost my pen, where'd it go, is 6 and 4/10. 1% is when you're like really desperate for a phone charger. It might even be smushed closer to that 0. Here's 1%. Your phone is like about to die. Your laptop is like, no, save your work. 1% is very, very low. What do you have to do to 100 to make the answer 1? Divide by 100. When you are finding 1%, you can move your decimal point by 2 powers of 10. Divide by 100. If I start at 64, my decimal point is hiding at the end. I'm going to move it 1. Oops, not that, not clicking. Move 1, 2 spaces. I end up with 1% is 0 and 64 hundredths. So 100% is 64. 50% is half of 64, that's 32. 25% is half of 50, that's 16. 10% is 6 and 4/10. 1% is 0 and 64 hundredths. And then you have some choices to get from 5% is also a helpful one to know. 10% cut in half is 5%. Well, look, I had 64 and I cut it in half and that was 32. So 6 and 4/10 cut in half is going to be 3 and 2/10. So using these strategies, if somebody asked me, hey, what's 19%? I could say, okay, well, I know what 10% is. And then, oh, there's a cat. And then I could add another 10%. Now I'm at 20. Then I could subtract 1%. Now I'm at 19. So you can use these numbers to help you instead of the next strategy in the next lesson you'll learn, which is setting up a proportion, because sometimes they don't always scale very evenly. And you might have a hard time thinking, like, what number can I multiply to get to 19? Okay, so there's our example. Again, the 64. I should have used this one because it's bigger. But I can then combine benchmark percents like I was just talking about to find other percents, less obvious percents. So if we know that 50% is 32 and we know that 1% is 0 and 64 hundredths, we can say, okay, well, 50% plus 1% gives me 51% of a number. Now, let's be careful. We'll talk about this more in the next few lessons, but there should only be one percentage symbol in each problem. So if I'm asking you for 51%, your answer should not have its own percent sign. That is just a number. Like, if we're talking about money, that's $32.64. It is not also a percent. So that's a strategy to use to build your way up to finding the percent of a number.